Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Satsang once again. I apologize for the slightly late start, just a matter of making sure everything was working. I actually did get everything working in time, but I scheduled it for enough in advance to make sure that I would. The downside to being a one man show. So welcome everyone. As people are joining, I just want to say hello and invite you all to just kind of type in the chat, say hi, where you're listening from, watching from, and if you have this is your first time here in satsang. The word satsang is really quite a beautiful word. Sat means truth in Sanskrit, and sang means a communion or company. Right? So it's often referred to as holy company or sacred company, sacred communion. Um, but it's interesting because there's another flavor, another variation of the meaning of the word sat. Um, you may be familiar with the term Sat Chit Ananda, which stands for being, consciousness, and bliss. And so in Sanskrit, the the word for truth and the word for being are the same, which is a beautiful thing because it points us away from conceptual knowledge, from traditional relativistic knowledge, discursive knowledge, knowing one thing in terms of another or describing one thing in terms of another, and it points to being itself as the truth. And so satsang, sang being a communion or a community. The word sangha or, uh, is based on that. That's the root of that of the a communion, a gathering of seekers or finders, as the case may be. And so it is this communion with your own being. That's what satsang is. So, on the surface, it looks like, there's a teacher sitting up there and he's going on and on and on, and people are asking questions and but that's only how it appears. That's not what's actually happening. And a teacher that's worth anything will be constantly pointing your attention back to yourself, to the being, right? Because your being, your very existence is the truth. Right? I mean, what else could be more true than you are? Right? I don't. If I asked for a show of hands of those who don't believe they exist, I suspect I wouldn't get very many hands. At least I would hope. I would hope that I wouldn't get very many hands. And if I did get a hand, I simply ask, okay, well, how could you, if you didn't exist, how could you possibly say you don't exist? So the ultimate truth, and this is no joke, the ultimate truth is your own being. Sat as being, it's sat as truth. They're pointing to exactly the same thing. The truth we all are seeking is your being. And isn't it self-evident? Right? And when you just put your attention on your own existence, right, without referencing thought and memory and associations and all the normal things we do, we think of ourselves, and just put your attention on that sense of being, you'll notice that it's utterly utterly effortless. And if you really put your attention on it, right, you can't actually tell where it came from, if it even had a beginning. We have to refer to thought and our birth and, the birth certificate and all of that. Mom and dad said the like, and we see babies around and stuff. I guess I was one of those as well. But that's all conceptual. When you actually put your attention on being itself, on Sat, pure Sat, what you find is that without thoughts, I can't find any beginning point. I also can't find an ending point. Right? My total experience is right now, in this moment. That's it. The fact of this moment, the being of this moment, tends to indicate that this being is eternal, timeless, which is even beyond eternal, and effortless. And no matter what forms appear around it, no matter what forms your particular body has transitioned through, has transformed through, right? I mean, I obviously didn't look like this when I was 3. Thank God. Right? So your body's been transforming through all sorts of things. Right? But that now, that nowness, that Sat, that beingness, that truth, always been there. It's never not been there. You cannot find the beginning. And if you can't find the beginning, maybe there isn't one. Notice that a beginning to being, right, is assumed. Well, it started somewhere, right? Going all the way back to the Big Bang, and then and then all the all the stuff that happened after that. And so we said, well, it started there, and your personal life started in when the sperm hit the egg, right? When one lucky sperm won the race and got to fertilize the egg. But those are all conceptual, aren't they? Satsang and non-duality is a direct inquiry into your experience, completely disregarding everything everyone has ever told you. Now, that's not disrespectful. It doesn't mean there isn't useful things to know. But when it comes to the existential, when it comes to knowing myself, I don't want secondhand information. I don't want somebody else talking to me who's got a lot of letters after his name, written a bunch of books, and saying, this is what it is. I want to see it for myself. I mean, who's better qualified to determine the nature of my being than me? Or you? Who's better qualified? No matter what I tell you, right? It's secondhand. It's hearsay, right? What's your experience? And the thing that happens in this kind of a satsang, a Vedantic inquiry, is that the perception of our direct experience, which is that timeless, beginningless and endless beingness, completely contradicts everything we know, everything we've been taught. And the mind kind of reels, goes, oh, what? No. There's got to be a beginning, right? Okay, you're just not seeing it. There's got to be a beginning. And so there's kind of this tennis match between acknowledging the reality, the truth, the Sat of your direct experience, and the arguments that, well, there must be something there, the arguments that have pretty much made up the nature of the discursive mind. This is really the heart and soul of this kind of an inquiry. To see and then take the authority for what you're seeing. Because when you're looking at something directly, when you're seeing something and perceiving truth directly, you really are fulfilling Vedanta. And the word Vedanta means the end of knowledge. Right? It doesn't mean the end of knowing. It means that our normal discursive relative way of knowing, what we call knowledge, right, ceases. Its end. It hits its end. Because if I'm going to know me, I have to rely on my experience, not on knowledge. Knowledge is always secondary. So this is the moment of Vedanta. the moment of direct seeing and taking responsibility and authority for what is seen. I suspect many people here have had deeply moving direct experiences, direct insights into uh, uh, into what reality is. I think somebody was even mentioning that October Paul, right, in the meditation. Maybe he'll be here today, about who has had the awakening, but all this suffering is going on, okay? And it makes one doubt the awakening. I must not be awake, because if I was awake, there wouldn't be any suffering, right? One doubts their direct experience. They doubt what it is they've actually seen. But that doubt is what? Habit patterns, habit thoughts of the mind. Right? And the mind, of course, is knowledge, right? That's all there is to it, right? The mind is 100% thought. I mean, there is no mind. Mind is just thought, right? Thought, thoughts occurring in succession, we call thinking, and that functioning of thought or knowledge is mind. That's all there is to mind. So Vedanta, or the end of knowledge, is the end of mind. You don't need mind to know your own being, do you? You don't need to think about it, right? You simply need to look, right? I don't need knowledge or mind to look at that tree, to experience the beingness of that tree. I'm looking at this one. You can look at the one behind me there. You don't need knowledge for that. I don't need a word. I don't have to know what kind of tree it is to experience the tree as it is. Then knowledge comes up and names it, and it's interesting, and there is some interest in that. But we're discerning now between knowing about and knowing. Having information about something and actually knowing it. I think I mentioned before, when I go to an art gallery or or a famous art museum and I see a famous painting, I don't take the tour and I don't put those little headsets on for them to tell me about it, because if I do, I'll get lost in that and I won't experience it. And I want to experience it. I want the work of art to speak to me in its own language and not have that be cluttered with thinking. That's Vedanta, right? The other side of Advaita, right? Not the not-to-ness. And this is Sat. This is truth, your being. So I'm going to look through here and say hello. Oops. Let's see if it's... I've got blue skies on that side, and I've got a rain cloud over there. And right now it's a little cloudy. Who do you think is going to win? We're gonna find out. So in the meantime, just let me say hello to everyone. Mary, hello, Mary. Patricia, good to see you. Sunny Vancouver. It was sunny here a moment ago. David and Elaine in Southeast England. Hendrik, good to see you from Germany. Tons of thanks to you and your work. Oh, you're very welcome. It's kind of our work, isn't it? Ava, namaste from Poland. Dear G and everybody, glad to be here. Ali Rizvi, hi to you, sir. I think, sir. I always hesitate a little bit because I'm, something's in another language. Where are you watching us from, Ali? And is this your first time here? I don't think I recognize you. Hello, Ursula. Good to see you. Madeira Island in Portugal. Portugal is actually on my list of places I'm exploring to possibly move to. Ursula, Robert in Nevada. Mary says, I'm listening from here. Very good. Very good. Rosario in Spain. Hello, sir. Robert says, the bench looks inviting. It is. It's nice. I come out here to do work, and obviously the show now that I can't trust the internet in my home. Got to keep my eye on the sky, or we might be doing satsang in my car, which would be great. I've done it before. RB, hello, IG. There's this idea that our consciousness is expanding and that there will be an inevitable mass awakening. Do you agree? Yes. Yeah, the simple answer is yes. I mean, I see the evidence of it all over the place, right? Um, this kind of conversation we're having right now was impossible when I was a kid. It was impossible, really, even except in very small pockets, right? There was this kind of stuff, this level of non-dual inquiry, this kind of spirituality. It's only been maybe in the last 30 years, probably 20 years, maybe even less. When did you start noticing that word awakening or enlightenment occurring more often on social media and things like that, or even in print? It's only in specialized, very specialized magazines. Now it's I mean, it's almost a marketing buzzword, awakening, this awakening and that awakening, the academy, all of this. So um, it's clear something is bubbling up, right? But what I think is happening is that truth is simply asserting itself, right? It we don't choose this path; it chooses us. We don't awaken, right? That is, it's not from my effort. Consciousness itself awakens. That would appear as expanding, right? Becoming more influential, touching more and more people. But the infinite can't expand, right? There's no, if there's an expansion, there's some place it's going to, and that would imply some kind of a boundary. So it's not that consciousness is expanding; it is simply asserting itself, right? As it always does. Remember, beliefs require someone to believe them in order to be sustained, whereas truth is self-sustaining. So, beliefs come and go. The whole development of what we could call human consciousness, or the human mind, has been a collection of beliefs and assumptions and ideas, some painful, some, many, well, they still do. They create wars and greed and all that kind of stuff. But those beliefs require a lot to sustain, and they can't sustain forever because they're not true. Right? Only truth, sat, being, only that is self-sustained. So it's inevitable, right, that the end of the world is nigh. The world simply being our conception of the world. As Christ said, just look at this temple. There's not one stone set upon another that will not be torn down. He wasn't talking about the building, the temple in Jerusalem, although he was making reference to that. And everybody think, oh, he was predicting the destruction of the third temple or something like that. No, he was pointing to the superstructure of human belief, and that there is not one stone sitting on another that is not going to get torn down. It's inevitable. It has to. The stone of belief has to fall apart. Right? And it's inevitable for truth to recognize itself, and that's what satsang is. That's what we're doing here. How that's going to look, how that's going to pan out, I don't know. Clearly, it is preceded by an increase in tyranny, an increase in the egoic mind trying to hold on to more, an increase in totalitarian governments, an increase in, well, exactly what we're seeing. Just, there's 8 people in the world who own half of the world's resources. That's absurd. That is greed on an unparalleled scale. That can't be sustained. There's nothing sustainable about that whatsoever. Right? And the entire system that allows that to happen, right, has a, right. They're all based on assumptions. They're all based on beliefs, and those beliefs, when they're rooted in the egoic mind, are self-destructive. It's all about me, 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 me. Tick, 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 tick. There's no love in it. There's no heart in it, and and the the extreme of that becomes increasingly apparent. In an example, like 8 people with half the world's resources, it's absurd, and it becomes evidently absurd. And the whole structure of thought and belief and assumptions and institutions that support, facilitate, and support that kind of thing, that becomes apparent. But this is the precedent, the proceedings before it. That's not the point of consciousness, to take, to dismantle some system and put together another system. Consciousness simply awakens to itself. And as that awakening impresses itself more and more on human consciousness, the stupidity, the insanity, the ridiculousness of the egoic assumptions become more and more apparent. Beliefs become more obviously a belief. And in so doing, they begin to dissolve. So it's preceded by some chaos, right? As things kind of break down. But yes, ultimately, I'm absolutely certain that there is, well, we're already seeing it, that it is going to hit the tipping point. Right? That there's going to be a point at which the momentum will simply be unstoppable. Right? But there's some interesting things going to be happening before that time. But that time is inevitable, because truth is self-sustained, and a belief isn't. So it's inevitable. Thanks for that, RB. George B. Hello to G and the Satsang crew. Love from London. Love to you too. Kuhulika. Hello. Namaste. GP and all the good people here. It's close to 1 a.m. here in India. My goodness. Bless your heart for staying up for satsang. I tell you, the people in India are so dedicated to spirituality. It is just moving. Russell says, hi, GP and good people. Hello to you. Hello to Gabriel in Texas here. Angel, hello, G. Thank you for 2 great meditations this week. Love from Germany. You're very welcome. Teresa Hoy, or maybe Oi. Good evening. I watched part of your EFT video. It was so relaxing that I fell asleep. Thanks for all you are offering. Good. Yes, when doing EFT, that's a good sign. When doing meditation, maybe not. It depends. It depends. If it's like first thing in the morning, you're doing a meditation, you start falling asleep, that's the mind resisting. Right? You don't really need it because you're already rested. So, but doing an EFT, oh, it's a great. Sometimes the body can just get an enormous amount of energy, can just start coming up because blocks to that energy have been removed. And sometimes when those blocks, when some defense comes down, it takes a lot of energy to sustain defense, doesn't it? Fighting stance and like. And then when it all comes down, and that may be in that position for years, and suddenly through tapping and inquiry, the body can just go, oh, and just absolutely fall on its face. I've had both of those experiences, and they're both wonderful. So thank you, Teresa. Robert, video and sound are great. Yes, I have to keep checking my battery here because one of my batteries has gotten too old and it's beginning to decay. But this one looks good. I've actually ordered an adapter for the camera so I can have 2 batteries in at the same time, so I can always rely on the good camera, right? And not have to switch cameras midway. So hopefully the sound, and this great little wireless device I have too. So hopefully the sound and the picture will continue to be good. Ooh, the storm's moving. Does seem to be getting a little bit closer, but we'll find out. We'll see what happens then. Sophie, hello, Sophie, and Laura, hi to the both of you. Sending love in England. Great, Gabriel, thankful for the internet. Me too. Just think of the power of this level of inquiry, just reaching out across the entire world. Right? And as many have noted, I have more people out of my country than I do in my country, right? Which I think is also a great uh, a, a great sign as well. Um, let's see, Barbro in Sweden. Hello to you. Snezalea. Hello, dear friends. Hello to you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Um, John Sheehan in Ireland. Hello, John. Oh, I will listen later. Oh, well. Well, thank you for coming though. David and Elaine, could we say that without the manifestation of form, there would be no need or process of awakening or self-realization, as all that would be undifferentiated, infinite, and indivisible oneness? Well, yeah, you could say that, but uh, but but there's no actual. You can't separate the emptiness from the form. We do it intellectually. Say there's no manifestation. There couldn't be any the only way you could not have a manifestation is to not have any being, right? Because being and its manifestation are not two. That's Advaita. Right? The very nature of being itself is to give rise to form, and the form partakes of the character and quality and flavor of the essence, of the essential, of being. Right? What would being be if nothing was? Right? What we're discerning is the true non-duality, where it's not two. Right? So yes, without manifestation, there'd be no awakening, right? There, and in fact, the better way to look at it is that awakening is a theme appearing in manifestation, and that the one undifferentiated indivisible consciousness includes its own reflection. How could it not? Right? How could it not include its own reflection? And my car is quite a bit away again, so time for everybody to pray. It's the storm, because I just heard thunder off in the distance. So forget even the idea of manifestation and the undifferentiated, just because they're ideas, right? And just put your attention on the actual experience of consciousness itself, right? Consciousness and everything that is included in consciousness. You cannot have one without the other, right? And that's the essential non-duality. In Vedanta, we divide it. We talk about the manifestation, because what we're trying to do is get ourselves back to that from which the manifestation exists, arises. And what we've done, and the whole sleeping that we have to wake up for, is identification with the form. That is, seeing form as if it was something that existed independently from the consciousness that is aware of it. That identification is the asleepness. But that identification is actually just another image appearing in consciousness. And so even that image, right, even that asleepness, right, is being perceived by that which is not asleep. That which is in consciousness is being perceived by consciousness and is made of consciousness. There isn't anything else out there. So what we're really doing in an increasingly inner and subtle way, a deep inner way, is we are seeing through the notion that there's anything other than consciousness. Right? But that doesn't mean that this isn't here, that this disappears because there's nothing but consciousness. This is nothing but consciousness. This old face, this beard, the microphone. the cathedral behind me, yeah, the kids playing over there, the skaters, right? It's consciousness. What else would it be? That's undifferentiated consciousness. Consciousness simply is pure being or sat, right? When it's no longer being described, right? When it no longer is, when you see through the words and the names to that which the words and the names are pointing to, that is consciousness. And then even the words and the names are consciousness. There's nothing but that. That's all there is. That's all you ever experience. But the mind, in a very subtle way, the mind wants to make, well, it's a manifestation that it kind of wants to make the thing in the mirror kind of a different thing than than that which the mirror is reflecting. Right? Am I getting there with you guys? We're going to a much more refined place there, where we're losing all sense of there being two, right? Without losing the experience that we call two, right? The mind calls it two. In consciousness, it's just myself. It's undifferentiated me, right? It's pure experience. But you can't separate them. Right? Again, we do only to disidentify with the appearance that is consciousness and to root ourselves back into the essential emptiness of which all of this is, right? There's a sense of an I as a manifestation, but there is no I in manifestation. The only I is that which perceives all, and everything that is perceived is made of that I, which means there isn't anything out there at all. Never does a thing actually come into existence. God, I hope I'm not going by everybody now. But all there is transformation, right? With nothing being transformed. Right? No matter how thinly you slice time, you will never find a static anything. This is the great mystery. Form just arises out of consciousness itself. There's never anything at all. Not for one moment does a thing exist. It is transformation, and no one and nothing is being transformed. Did I go too far with that? Let me see if there's any response down there. This seems complicated, said somebody. We'll get back to that. It isn't. No, it's exactly the opposite. There's a beautiful line from Walt Whitman, who said, "The truth is simple. If it was complicated, everybody'd understand it. The reason it seems complicated is it is so simple, and it can't involve the mind. When you're talking about one, you can't reference the mind anymore, because the mind has to have two. There's nothing without two. It has to have one juxtaposed against the other. That is the entirety of human knowledge, the description of one thing in terms of another, right? So it isn't complicated. It's just a completely different way of seeing and knowing without referencing what we normally do. And language, of course, is dualistic by nature, right? It's the description of one thing in terms of another. It's completely based in the mind. So the best we can do is point our attention, and primarily that's done by pointing your attention away from where it normally goes, away from what is obvious, away from what is seen, right? In an attempt to bring attention more and more to that which is not seen and cannot be seen. And that is such a different way of being and thinking and looking and perceiving. The mind calls it complicated because the mind can't go there. So the mind said, that's complicated. We can't do it. No, there's nothing simpler than one. But when you try to truly penetrate, pierce that veil of oneness, you realize that all of your knowledge has been based on two-ness, right? Has been based on duality, and none of it is useful here. None of it has any bearing or relevance here. So, um, yeah, be careful when the mind says this is very complicated. Yeah, it's really the mind trying to keep itself in the realm that is familiar. And the mind loves complexity. The more complex, the better. Used to do computers. Believe me, the mind loves complexity. Um, Gulsin, hello to you. Um, Rick Sandvalt, Rich Sandvalt, Johansen. Warm hello from the south of Germany. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. I love the south of Germany. A friend of mine lent me a little Cooper Mini, and I drove all over Bavaria and into Switzerland and Austria and oh my goodness, it was fun. I loved it. Ali is back. Hello, Ali. Kamal also in India. Hello, Kamal. So it's like really late for you too. Ali says, I have a question. I can understand in some learning way, but why still seeking but not seeing or awakening? What's in my way? Should I just give up? Elbow cough. um, let's see. Well, no, you can't give up, right? I mean, there wasn't a moment you say, today I think I'm gonna start seeking today. But notice that you didn't choose this, right? It's something that's just happening, and the seeking, when it arises naturally, right, within us, it has to find its fulfillment. The desire to find the truth can only be fulfilled by finding the truth, right? But when we get into the seeking, we begin to notice that I'm seeking, but I'm not finding. My question is let's take a close look at what it is you're looking for, right? Oftentimes we get stuck because we have this preconceived idea, this preconceived notion, very subtle, of what awakening is supposed to be. Oh, it's supposed to be this blissful state, or heaven, angels are supposed to sing. I'm supposed to see colors, or everything is more intense and vivid, or I'm supposed to feel one with everything. But those are all ideas, right? Those are all ideas, and of course, in the seeking, the mind is still very active, so it's kind of looking for something, right? And it might find it for a minute, and then it slips away. Right? What's going on? Right? What you are seeking is you. What you're looking for is you, the one looking. You are looking for the one looking. Right? What you are looking for is where you are looking from, and this is your seeking has brought you to the deepest, most profound non-dual inquiry. It's brought you to the last step, so it's not a problem. Everybody here has been brought to the final questions, right? The deepest question. I mean, can the perceiver be perceived? What you're looking for is where you are looking from. Now that means all your attention goes away from everything the mind thought awakening was, thought enlightenment was. Right? All of that none of that's real, right? But the seeking is still there. Something inside me knows there's an answer to this question. There is an end to this seeking. There's a definite fulfillment to this deep desire. And it's not going to stop, right? Just like you didn't start it, you can't stop it, right? So you can't say, I'm going to stop seeking today. It's too late. You can't unsee something you've seen. You can't unknow something once you know it. Once that taste has has permeated your entire system and is moving you, motivating you. Sorry, no way back. It's a point of no return. It's over. It's over, dude. So the only thing that happens is that seeking just keeps you bringing closer and closer to the right seeing, the right teaching, the right questions, the right inquiry, the right conversations, the right people. It will just keep bringing you close until you're finally going, nothing I thought awakening was is obviously what it was, or I would have found it. Now there's this spaciousness there. Just sitting here in this most wonderful not knowing, this wonderful divine ignorance, right? I don't know. Who am I? Right? Because that's what awakening is. It's not an experience. It's the answer to the question, who am I really? But now I want to bring your attention to the seeking, right? Isn't all the seeking and the seeking thoughts and the memories of all the things you've done and when the seeking started, is that not all an activity, a functioning of life and the mind and action that is being perceived? And is that perceiving of it, even from the very first moment, that very first impulse to seek, was also seen, wasn't it? And every step along the way, there's been a presence aware of every step along the way. The seeking and the seeker have both been being watched by the sought. It's not a particular state, it's not an idea, it's not even an insight that is the culmination of seeking. It's you. What you're looking for is you. And where are you? Are you not who's hearing my words right now? Is that not consciousness? Are you not there? Now, this you is not described by the mind. It's not an image, it's not a thought, it's not an experience, even a great, wonderful, blissful, heaven's parting kind of experience. It's not any of those, is it? Because all of those appear in the purview of its perceptions. All of this appears to you. The you to who it is appearing is who you're seeking. And have you noticed you're already there? You're already it. What's the seeking is the energy that allows all of the thoughts of who we are to fall away. And you find, I have been here the whole time. Where else have I been? This is me, without any reference to thought. I can't find me. I'm here. I can't get up and walk over to me. I'm already here. So you put aside everything, right? Everything, even the thought of seeking, even the thought that there's something to seek, right? Even the thought that you need to find yourself, even the thought that says you're not enlightened. They're just thoughts. And what's left? You. You without you. As Ramana Maharshi put it, the I removes the I and yet remains the I. You following that? So the seeking itself is something you are witnessing. And the more your attention goes to the pure witnessing of the seeking and less identification with the seeking will just begin to fade away. You found what you're looking for. You are what you're looking for, and always have been. The mind is slow to accept that. Yeah, I know, but right. But just notice that no matter what the mind says, no matter what it does, you're there watching it. Have you ever left there? Have you ever been anything else but there? This is the realization. This is the awakening. Nobody even awakes. Even the awakening is just an event that is witnessed by that which is eternally awakeness itself. Dale, my friend Dale. Hello to you, sir. Who are the 8 people? I'm interested. Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea who they are. I don't remember. Yeah, it's not important. It's not important. You can probably look it up. You can Google it and find it. I don't remember. Ali says, any practice you recommend? Yeah, right. Yeah, that was after I had answered your previous question. Do you still think you need a practice, or you just need to look? Right? The ultimate practice is there is no practice. There's no teaching. Right? You don't need a map for your hometown. Right? Practice and everything are temporary. They're for seekers. Right? But you've come into the realm of the non-dual inquiry. It's not a practice. It's a direct seeing. You simply look. Right? And what do you see? More importantly, who's looking? Right? Who's looking you can't actually see. Right? Thank you for your prayers. The sky has been is being very cooperative. It's kind of just hanging out there. The thunder's a little more distant. Beautiful. Is that satisfying to you, Ali? I don't want to just kind of cut you off. No practice, nothing like that. I don't want to make it theoretical. Is that satisfying? Is the answer actually penetrating? Penelope, hi from Scotland. My name is Angela. Hi, Angela. Oh, Penelope, that's your screen name. That's your secret name. Hi, Angela. Wonderful to have you. Finally made it, says Anne. Good. So glad to have you. Sound and picture are great. Yes, and my battery's holding up. So the other battery has to be retired. I'll get another high capacity one, and I ordered a device that lets me have 2 batteries in there at the same time, so my camera will not run out of juice as long as I remember to charge it. Andre, hello, Andre. Hello to you. Red rose for you. Hi, I'm having a hard time staying quiet when I'm offended by a narcissist in my life, or just anyone, I guess. I think that silence is better, but my ego has the need to stand up for myself. Yes, that's what egos do, right? And look carefully. Is somebody actually trying to hurt you in some way? Probably not. It's probably just their attitude, right? You are offended by, right? Your ego is offended by. But look at it very closely. The ego is just a functioning of thought, okay? Let's be really clear about what mind is and what the ego is. The ego is not a thing. The mind is not a thing. A mind is simply a word, an abstraction that represents thought. Right? So there's not a mind that is thinking. There's no entity. Mind is a word for thoughts. Right? Thoughts in a sequence are thinking. Thoughts of the thought of I is the ego. It's simply all the thoughts that revolve around the I, and not just the thoughts, but the kind of reactive patterns, emotional things like that. So somebody of a certain character is there. Say they're a narcissist, right? Right? They're very offensive. and we have plenty of those in politics. You can turn on the you can turn on the TV and have your fill of narcissists, right? So, but there's something then in you, right? In that those patterns of thought that are offended by it, react to it. He shouldn't be that way, right? She should know better, right? Now just notice they're just thoughts, right? Right? They're recurring. We're so used to them that we identify with them, and so we say, I need to stand up for myself. Or maybe a little clearer, like you are, and say, the ego needs to stand up for itself. All right. And if you're seeing the ego standing up for yourself, uh, for it's not you, is it? You're not standing up for you. There's simply a pattern of reaction that wants to be offended. Right? Now, really, this is very, very subtle, but look very carefully. You're not reacting. This pattern of thoughts, right, revolving around the I thought, right? It's simply an automatic response mechanism. That's just how the nervous system works. This happens, this is a reaction, and it's automatic, right? And so you were taught you're supposed to be a certain way, and people are supposed to be good, right? You're supposed to be this way. As a child and beyond, you learned to conform to that particular way. This is good, which means that's bad, right? So you need to be humble. So when you see somebody who's not humble, they shouldn't be like that. We take offense, right? But the fear, I should be like this, right? And so I can't be like that. And anybody who is like that shouldn't be like that. Notice those are all thoughts. You didn't choose any of those thoughts, right? Even right now, the very fact you're saying, I want the silence, but this keeps happening. You're not choosing for that to happen, are you? Right? This is not your choice. You're not saying, right? None of that. It's not your choice. None of it was. It wasn't in the first place. None of this stuff got put in place with our conscious agreement. My goodness, nobody would agree to that. Nobody would agree to self-destructive behavior and stupid stuff, right? So you didn't agree. You weren't there to figure it out or bargain or discriminate or anything like that. It was just programmed. Boom. So there it is. So now this program is operating and you're aware of it. The very fact you can look at it and go, my ego, means you're not that. You're looking at it, right? But now it's on autopilot. And as of yet, you haven't seen deeply enough, which is what we're doing right now, to recognize that you don't need to be concerned with it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to get rid of it, right? You just simply need to see it for what it is, right? So now that my ego needs to stand up for myself, right? Notice there's a resistance to this reactive pattern in the nervous system. That resistance keeps it in check, keeps it there. What if instead you go, oh, there it is again. How annoying. All right, and that's it, right? How do I get rid of it? None of that, right? This is how you get rid of it. How you get rid of it is you stop needing to get rid of it, right? You don't care. Right? You simply don't mind what happens. And then what happens is all the little antics of the ego, it'll go on for a while, but because you're not resisting it, you're not giving a lot of attention, you're not giving it any power, it just begins to fade because your attention sustains it. Remember, this stuff doesn't have any staying power of its own. There's nothing there that has its own little private battery pack with the the energizer but it keeps going and going and going. No, your attention, either as attachment to it or resistance to it, feeds it. So withdraw your attention. Oh, there it is again. And what will happen? It'll be like a radio playing in another room. Yeah, you'll notice it, but it's like, so what, right? Who really cares? And so even that thought, I'm having a hard time staying quiet, is the mind, isn't it? If that thought never occurred to you, I'm having a hard time staying quiet, would you be having a hard time? Or would you simply be noticing the activity of the mind? Don't think that to get into the place of silence, of true quiet, of true presence, that you have to stop the mind. That is impossible. To quote Muji, trying to stop the mind is like trying to stop the wind dressed as a kite. You lose interest in it. It loses its authority. You begin to see through it, and you simply go, yeah, whatever. Then you find that you are the quiet. Your being itself is the quiet. You don't need to get quiet. You don't need to stay there. You are the quiet that has simply been distracted by the winds of the mind. And think, oh, thinking it's important. It's not. You are the quiet. And notice, you felt that as I've just been sitting here talking, right? As I brought your attention back there, not so attached to what the ego does or not does. Notice the quiet is just there. Why? And who else is there? What else is there besides the quiet? You. You're the same. You are the quiet. You're not someone who gets quiet. You are the silence itself. You're there before even Om. Mary says, go to your car, please. Nope, not yet. Not yet. I'm still in exactly the same place. This half of the sky is like puffy little clouds and blue and nice and sunny over there. And this side is like, ooh, maybe it's foreboding. We'll find out. We'll find out. We may find out exactly how fast I can break down a bunch of electronic equipment so that it doesn't get soaking wet. Just as I got everything working and the battery is working, it all gets drenched. So how's that? Red rose for you. A little red rose for you. Robert. Hi, Mr. G. 5, after waking up, all that was left was a bunch of bad habits which I used to easily ignore. Now the bad habits are gone. All that's left is watching things fall apart. Good. Yeah. Well, nothing really falls apart, right? You're watching habits fall apart. You're watching, maybe you're talking about the world and you're seeing the same things falling apart, which simply means being exposed is not true. That's what falling apart means, right? It's being exposed as not true. It's being seen for what it actually really is. And so now, if there's the awakening where you're just watching it all happen, start becoming curious about what am I actually experiencing? I know me. I am pure silence. I am pure awareness. I am nothing in particular. But yet all of experience is still there. Stuff is still happening. Creation, the universe is continuing to constantly unfold from within itself. This is where the Vedanta turns around and becomes Tantra. It begins to embrace, right? This is the bodhisattva energy, as opposed to the arhat energy, which simply wants to attain nirvana to be all done. The bodhisattva attains nirvana for the benefit and sake of all beings, to remove all suffering. So look around. Do you see suffering? Take that suffering in as if it were your own and dissolve it just the way you dissolved all your other bad habits and all the other stuff that has fallen away from you now. Right? Now you can do what Christ did. Take on the sins of the world. Take it all on for yourself. All joys are my joys. All suffering is my suffering. That's the heart of Christ. That's the essence of the Buddha. That is the essence of the Bodhisattva. It is not, you bring everybody with you. The Bodhisattva vow, suffering beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. And having saved all beings from suffering, no being has been saved. That is one of the most profound things to ponder. So that it isn't, I am awake. There's only the awakened one. That's what the word Buddha means. The one, not someone who has awakened, but the one awake. Beautiful, beautiful. Gulson, or Gulson, I think, I would imagine. What do you think about the philosophy of Kant and Spinoza and the similarity with the Advaita teaching from Turkey? I can't speak with great authority about Kant and Spinoza. Spinoza was, I think, was far more on the money than Kant was. Most of those, although Spinoza, I think, may have actually gotten it, but where most of them stop is that the idea that I am an individual self, that there is a individual self that wakes up, or there's an individual self that knows something. Rarely, if ever, do they actually question the nature of the self itself. And that's the heart and soul of non-duality. That's the heart and soul of the Buddha's teaching. Right? The Buddha said there is no self. Now, that doesn't mean nothing exists. The self has always been, the para Atman, the para Brahma in Hindu, where he lived. He went to the greatest teachers of his day, and that word, the self, was a block, was an obstacle for so many people, because the self, we're thinking of it as a self, that the ultimate self was some kind of being, some kind of Brahman, some kind of ultimate being, which that is the Western view of God, this ultimate being, separate from me, that somehow I merge with or go to, right? And Buddha says, no, there is no ultimate self, right? There's only being. Right? And from there came all the emptiness, that nothing exists separate from your perceptions of it, but nothing actually exists at all, right? So if you understand the ultimate non-duality, all the philosophies will become crystal clear to you, right? You'll be able to look at them, right? Don't have to know them all, but you look at them, you'll see where they're right, you'll see where they're wrong. You see how they got very close, and you see where they missed the boat, and many did miss the boat. A lot of the physicists and quantum physicists came extremely close, but simply could not let go of this idea of an independently existing physical universe. Right? So there was an insight within that universe. That's what Buddha saw through, that didn't exist, that there is no independent self. Nothing has a self. There's no self in persons, there's no self in objects, and there's no self in teaching. That means no teaching is absolute. Everything is a convention, everything is for this moment, everything is simply what needs to be said in this moment for whoever is hearing it, and the moment it's understood, it is discarded. It is no longer needed. Right? You don't need a map to your hometown. Right? That all teachings are just maps and pointers. So I find it very interesting. Spinoza, I find absolutely fascinating. But needless to say, I don't. When things like that come across to me, it's fascinating. I like them. I may even quote them, right? But I don't go seeking that out, right? Because the ultimate inquiry is the inquiry into the actual nature of the I. Who am I? Right? And even even many materialistic scientists have agreed that consciousness arising from matter simply doesn't make sense. It's qualitatively so different that it must be some other kind of substance. They're right on the verge of falling into seeing that consciousness is all there is. The consciousness only model of the universe. So I hope that helps, Gusine. Yeah. I mean, I really can't comment specifically on. I lost your question here. I can't comment specifically on their philosophies or any particular aspect of their philosophies. Right? I've just had exposure to them. Anne says, when we die and leave the body, no form but still beingness, as we feel those who have left body. Yes, and ultimately a sense of that those and me are not two. Right? Even the those is really just kind of an idea, right? It's a different aspect of myself. So, but still being is, yes. But there is a sense of nothing is actually lost. When it's recognized in its essence and that you are that essence, nothing and no one is lost. The seeing that they don't exist as a separate entity doesn't mean they don't exist. It means they exist as the essence, as myself. That's the oneness. It's not like I'm one and there ain't nothing else. It's not loneliness. There's just one, right? But that one has countless faces. So that whatever you look on, you're seeing the face of God. So, Evian, this seems complicated. I mentioned that before. Does it still seem complicated, Evian? I'd really like to know. Gabriel says, God is closer than our breath. Yes. Matter of fact, even the idea of closeness has to go away. Because in closeness, there's still two. Right? There aren't two. It's not even close. It's one. Patricia, undifferentiated me, essential emptiness. I am experiencing that emptiness as a form of grief. I feel lost without the identifications established. Yuck! Can you edify me? Right. This isn't an abandonment of life. It's just a clear seeing, right? You see that you are not any particular identification, right? But that doesn't mean you just sit there as nothing, right? Emptiness and form are one, right? The emptiness manifests itself as form. The emptiness is the infinite freedom of it, right? Because if you were something, you'd be stuck as that something, you'd be bounded by it, and you'd be limited. Emptiness means you are absolutely, infinitely free. Free for what? Free to take any form you want without getting stuck there. So you enter into the forms, what you might call the identities, but you are not identified with it, right? So when you're not stuck, I'm a mother and that's it. A mother is just a role that you play and then you drop it. Right? When you do something else, or I'm not just an employer, an employee, or a husband, or a lover, or a friend, right? Those are all just things you move through. So identities appear and disappear, right? Identification means I am that. That gets me stuck there. I'm cut off from my emptiness, which is my total infinite resourcefulness and freedom, right? But that doesn't mean you're nothing, right? Right now, I'm in the identity of the teacher sitting in the park doing satsang. When this is over, will I be that? No. Am I that? Actually, no. It's just a particular functioning that is taking place. So you see, you're not really losing it. To disidentify simply means, oh, I'm not that, which means I'm free, right? Free to be that. Free to completely be that. Matter of fact, it liberates even that as well, right? When you're free from a particular role, you play the role better. become a better lover, a better friend, a better worker, a better employer, a better everything, because you're not stuck there, right? So now all of the infinite resources of your emptiness can coalesce in this one particular form. Human life, therefore, is liberated. Right? When you're liberated from what you are not, right? What you are permeates all of life because you're not stuck there anymore. It's not you. You're doing this. You're flowing like a river, right? Just meandering to the ocean, right? Sunday afternoon in Santa Fe, we have the bikers out. Well, the wind is dying down. I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to sit this sit this out, finish up satsang here. Anyway, Patricia, how is that? Is that is that is that making more sense? That that sense of losing the identity to the ego feels very, very threatening. I don't like this, right? But you're not losing that which was identified with. You're only losing your identification with it. It's still there in all its wondrous and glory. And in fact, it'll be better. Right? Is that clear? Right? So it becomes life becomes a celebration, right? It becomes more fun, become more manly, more womanly, right? I mean, all sorts. I mean, it's great. It's great. So make sure I got it for you, though, Patricia, because really want you to experience the pleasure of it, the tantra of it. Mary Sykes, is just becoming childlike the best way to really know ourselves? Uh, no, the best way to know yourself is to see through everything you're not and recognize that you cannot know yourself as an object. Okay? The childlikeness emerges. It's not a behavior you have to adopt, right? It's not a practice, right? It very naturally arises as you're free, as you experience undifferentiated consciousness, because you're not naming and labeling and putting everything in a box, but you're quite conscious of it, so you can label it and name it and see it in the box and out of the box. So you've transcended it all. The best way to know yourself is to simply be yourself. You can't know yourself intellectually. You can't cognitively. Right? The perceiver cannot be perceived. But do you not know that you are? That's the kind of knowing. Right? Right? Don't look for it in the mind. There's no concept that's going to work. All concepts are going to be transient and temporary. They'll be here from 1 minute and gone the next. They're useful, and then you throw them away. But you're still here. You, the unknowable, the Tao, that which cannot be spoken. That's you. But are you not completely and totally aware that you are? And here, listening to me right now. So now the mind wants to find some version of it. It's looking for something, right? But you're not the mind and you're already here. Why do you have to look for you? Right? So that's just the functioning of the mind that we've gotten kind of seduced by, gotten sucked into. And it's such a habit, it keeps coming up and keeps coming up and keeps coming up. And it will till the day this body dissolves. It's not a big deal. David Elaine, such a beautiful answer, GP. So clearly explained. Certainly resonates here. Many thanks. Very good. Very good. Robert, I also find the emptiness too and would like to stay in it longer. Suggestions. Thanks. You can't. Any place you would stay, you're eventually going to leave. You cannot go somewhere and then stay there, right? Because the only place you can stay forever is here. And where are you? Here. Right? So you don't find the emptiness. If I say, okay, I found the emptiness. Okay, who are you? Who are you that found the emptiness? Okay, here I got it. Emptiness. Here it is. Okay. Who are you? Who found it? The word emptiness refers to you. It refers to you completely unknowable as an object. So it's empty. It's pure being, right? It's not something you can look at and say, that's what I am. Right? So then the mind turns emptiness into some object. It's a subtle object. It's a purely conceptual object, but it is an object nonetheless. Right? It's just a thought object, right? Rather than a physical object, which are actually also thought objects, but I digress. Right? So what then is emptiness? Well, emptiness is you without you. Emptiness is what's hearing my words right now. Emptiness is what was aware of this question coming up. Emptiness was what typed it into the to the computer, and emptiness is what saw it. Right? Emptiness is what you are. So you don't need to stay there. Emptiness is what witnesses the things that are very peaceful, and we say, "Oh, I'm in the emptiness now." The mind says, "Oh, I must be in the emptiness now." It's very quiet. Oh, I'm not in the emptiness now. It's very chaotic, all sorts of noise and stuff. Bells are sounding and the like. I'm obviously not in the emptiness, right? Who's watching all of that? Emptiness. You without you. Right? So what the mind is saying, it's kind of peaceful there. I want to stay there, right? But that attachment to a state and then mistaking that state for the absolute, right, will engender suffering, inevitable, because nobody can that state cannot be maintained, right? It's impermanent. Transformation is all there is. It'll be gone, right? You can't hold your breath, right? You gotta let it out. Right? The heart just doesn't do this. It's got to do this. It's just the way it is, right? So that's the nature of all things, all manifest things. And they draw their nature from the essential emptiness, which is what you are. So you can't stay there. You can't leave. Right? It's not a place that you come and go to. It's what you are. Micah Lighthouse. Lovely name. Morning from Sydney. Morning to you. Oh, wow, that's right. You guys are like 16 hours ahead of me, or 18, something like that. Something really ridiculous. Mary says, I was once told that I was over the hump as far as my seeking was concerned, and that there was no going back. Because what is there to go back to? Yep. Oh, it's true. Once the seeking truly starts, which means it's been inspired by truth, it's not an act, it's not something somebody's trying to do, right? That it's like there's a sincerity, there's a shift in perception that takes place. That this stuff is interesting, right? More interesting than other stuff. There's no turning back. There's no turning back, right? How? It's like, sorry, you've been called and chosen. Sorry, too late. Yeah. Gabriel G, the short path. Yes, I think that's what I was describing to you. Yes, the direct path, which is, of course, the shortest path. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and that's the direct path. That's Vedantic, the Vedantic inquiry. Right? And then it turns around for the tantric experience, which is the water gets changed into wine, and a really good wine too. Yeah, not Gallo. Thanks, G. That helps. Good, Ollie. I'm glad. Gabriel says, the eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. Yes. And then now me and God can both disappear, right? And the only thing that's left is being. Even the word me isn't important anymore because by definition it implies an other. So even that goes away. I goes away. Right? This is prior to I. It's the absolute being of one. And all of these words, we're just pointing to it. We're giving it expression, but of course it's expressionless. Right? Try to describe space. What is it? Without any objects. Take all the objects out and now describe space. What do you got? Einstein said that without the objects, space doesn't even exist. It's a concept. Beautiful. Thank you, Gabriel. Yes, said Ali. Good. Good. Oop, sorry. Thank you. Good, good. Glad I got it. Hey, Gabriel, it's a great sentence. Yes, it's a great sentence, says Hendrik. Yes, it is. It truly is. Sounds Sufi. I'm not actually sure where the origin of that is. It's got a Sufi kind of flavor to it, doesn't it? Gabriel's given a little sign. Carrie, hi, Carrie. Welcome, Gabriel G. Meister Eichert. Meister Eckert. Meister Eckert said that. Yes, an amazing Christian mystic. Selena, oops, thing jumped on me. Hello to you. I got all sorts of nice little multicolored hearts. David, hi, David. Hey, G. What is the true self like? Maybe it cannot be described in words, but what words point to it? Gratitude from across the Atlantic. What is the true self like? What are you like? You're the true self. Tell me, what's the true self like? True self has an Irish accent, right? Lives, right? How old is the Buddha? Right? It's a very simple Zen koan. How old is the Buddha? If you ask me, I'll say 68. Okay? The true self is not a thing to be described. It is a theme that plays throughout all of what is the true self like. It's like the tree behind me. It's like the hair on my chin. It's like the styrofoam ball on the end of my microphone. It's like the camera that is taking my picture now. It's like the squirrels that are running around here. It's like the clouds that are in the sky, the dark. It's like the rain and thunder in the distance, and the sun also in the distance. It's not a thing. It is everything. Everything is what the self is like. Right? What is the self? Unknowable. So look around the room. Look at everything you have there. Look at your buddy Nazarene. Right? That's it. That's the face of God, the face of the Absolute, the true self. To know yourself as the true self, right? That's what you are, as is everything else. Then everything is what it's like. Are you following this? Right? Don't think you're going to find the true self as if it was a thing. Right? It is being itself. So everything that has being, right, is what the self is like. St. Paul said it, in him we live and move and have our being. Right? I am the appearance of. This form, speaking to you right now, is what? The appearance of the self. The self without form is void. There's nothing there. Just pure being. But pure being radiates, because the nature of being is love. It radiates that in beings, what appear to be beings, right? That every single being is the mirror to the divine. Every single mirror is the face of God. So, you want to know the true self? Look in the mirror. Talk to your friends. Go to the pub, have a beer. That's the true self. The true self is talking to you right now. The true self is hearing. There isn't anything other than the true self. The mind imagines there's another self we're trying to get to. There isn't. There's only you. Right? That sense of being. That's it. This is not complicated. Am I getting in, David? Dale, OGP, and other namesters. Or is it namasters? Namasters? From Massachusetts. Hi, Dale. Mary says, I'm concerned for you and your equipment. Mary, I'm not. So, don't let the mind drag you into something that isn't, create a problem where there isn't one. As a matter of fact, the sun is now coming out over there. Believe me, if I needed to move, I'd know it. Right? So let go of your concerns. Right? Trust. And what's the worst? Okay, it downpours suddenly. I completely unexpected. All of my equipment is gone. It's going to be gone someday anyway, right? I'm not going to be gone, right? Unless I'm struck by lightning, right? Yeah, right. So thank you for your concern, but that's your mind trying to drag you, trying to get you out of this present moment and into a future that hasn't happened, which means it's imaginary, right? So let it go. Robert says, thank you very much, G. You're welcome. You're very, very welcome. Jesse. Hello, Jesse. Hi, G. Today's satsang around the world. It gathers from Jess's mom, Heather Lentz, in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. I heard about you from Dave Scott and his wife, Annette, from Exton, Pennsylvania. I really appreciate the really good questions and the very fine answers. Wonderful. Thank you, Heather. You're Jess's mom. This is Jess's mom. Jess's account, mom's using it. Okay, got it. Right, in Pennsylvania. Wonderful. Dave's wonderful. So glad to have you here. Gulson, thank you, GP. I understand what you mean. Perfect. Perfect. Tatiana, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Mary says, you are going in and out now. I'm going in and out. Camera's still fine. About half battery left. I'll probably make the entire thing. Anybody else? Anybody else experiencing me going in and out? If it is, it's not my equipment this time. that's all working, and I have plenty of space on my hotspot, so I think we're good. Patricia, brilliant. I'm free to be that. Play the role better because not stuck there. Love it. Yes, that's one of the biggest breakthroughs that really kind of just opened the entire thing. It came from Zen, is realizing that in the being of nothing, in the emptiness, I was free to be everything. I am nothing in particular, but that I can take any form it wants. Any form at all. Right? You just don't get stuck. You put on any costume, and you know it's a costume. It's not me. But the beauty of it is, I get so excited about it, the beauty of it is that when you take on the costume, that's how emptiness expresses itself. Otherwise, it's unexpressed. It's like a piano and nobody's playing it, right? Or a pianist who doesn't have a piano. It's like, what do I do? How do I express, right? Right. So instead of being a burden that it's identification, it is the freedom of self-expression. And now you get to explore it. You know, let's take this baby for a spin in the Autobahn. Let's see what it can do. Let's open it up. And then suddenly you find that every form has its definitions. There's certain things it can do, certain things it can't. Emptiness has no limits on it, but the form, right? But that form, it's not really a limit any more than, the piano is a limit because it doesn't sound like a drum or like a flugelhorn, right? It's not a limit, it's a definition. So what do? You express the infinite in the finite, the timeless in the field of time. So every form becomes infinite. And it's just infinite within infinite within infinite within infinite. There are no limitations, but there are definitions. But you are not stuck in any of them. That's the key. Remember, suffering is stuck. The word dukkha, which is the word translated from Sanskrit in English as suffering, means stuck. It refers to the hub of a wheel that is gotten out of true and it can't turn anymore. And of course, wheel means chakra, right? So we're just talking about the energy of life that has gotten stuck, and our identifying with it is the sticking. When I am GP, right? I'm stuck with GP. Good God. Please, no. But if I'm not identified with it, then everything that is included in this particular body-mind form is mine to express. And now it becomes an incredible instrument. Patricia is an infinite instrument, right? Just because it's a piano doesn't mean it doesn't have infinite expression, right? Because it's not a flute, right? It that's the vehicle. And if it didn't have that definition, if it didn't have those boundaries, there'd be no nothing would be there, right? So the form and the emptiness have to be one. they have to be one. Otherwise, there's nothing. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I can just hear the freedom in your voice. Yay. Jesse, people talk about vibration and that those different frequencies create the realities around each of us, but I can't feel it. So it doesn't make sense to me. Okay, good. Don't worry about it. It's a word that's gotten very popular. I'm going to raise my vibration, and right. Don't worry about that. Know who you are. That's the highest vibration there is. To know who you are is the freedom from everything that's hindering you, and that's the low vibration. Simple as that. The more we're in the ego, the less love there is, which is the highest vibration. The less not self-awareness there is. So don't worry about it. You don't have to feel it. The reality is not something you feel anyway. The real energy is not something you feel. It's what you are. Right? So don't pay any attention to that. Yes, our perceptions determine our experience. But if we're trying to manipulate our perceptions to get a different experience, we're getting stuck in the ego. And if we're successful, it's actually worse for you because the ego is being reinforced. And I know a lot of very luminaries in the world of the law of attraction and vibration and manifestation and all of that, and they are very stuck in their egos. They're not even questioning whether they're not questioning the I that wants something. They never question that. They just go right to, I want it, therefore I'm going to do this, and they get it. And it is a trap. Yogis have known this, or sages have known this for a long time. There's been a lot of yogis who've sought that kind of miraculous power, the kind of powers of manifestation and levitation and all sorts of things. They're called siddhis, right? And they're a trap. You get stuck there because you don't ask who you are. You don't question yourself. It's always making you better, a different version of yourself. But who are you? Right? You don't create a reality. You create an experience. And it's temporary. It's transient. Reality cannot be created or destroyed. Reality is the truth. Right? You don't create reality. Right? You harmonize with it. Right? You harmonize with the way things are. And then you are vibrating in sympathy with life itself, right? And that's the ultimate harmony. That's the ultimate vibration. So don't be the least bit concerned about it. Yay. And I may lose my battery, but we're about to find out. Um, oh yeah, this one's, yeah. So I'm going to need 2 batteries to make it through. It's okay. I have a second screen waiting. So let's see how far it'll go before it actually dies. Mary's asking if anybody else is having problems. Is anybody else having a problem? Hearing or seeing or anything like that? I'm checking. I got plenty of battery on the microphone. Everything's good on this side. Everything's all is green. So there goes. Camera. All right. Could still hear me, but the my main camera, the really good camera, the one I ordered the adapter for to have more of a charge, has just gone dead. But I've got my secondary, my backup camera here, and we're still good, 32%. Let's see. How to find being. Try not to be, says Mayor. Yeah, try not to be. That's great. Yes, exactly. Try not to be. It's like people say, how do I get into the now? And I'll go, try to get out of it. Right? The problem is our minds are looking for a thing. I say find the being or the true self. Our minds, because it's just the nature of the mind, it's looking for an object. It's looking for something it can see and point at, right? Being isn't an object. You aren't an object. So your mind cannot see you. It cannot know you. Right? And it's just notice, are you? Do you exist? Are you aware of existing? That is the ultimate knowledge. I am. And that there's, before even the sense I am or the thought I am could appear, you had to be there. That's the absolute. Not even the experience of your own being could exist if you did not exist first. The ultimate, absolute, pure being. Sean the Humble, what does one see with self inquiry? I spent hours looking, but to no avail. Uh, well, good. You've eliminated all the things that you're not, right? Okay. Who's looking? Notice the act of looking is attention wants to go somewhere. So now, as you're removing your attention, I'm looking for the self. Okay, good, and that's important. You're going, that's not the self. That's not the self. That's getting clear to you, right? Which is why you say, looking, but I don't find anything. Right, exactly so. The self is not an object that can be found. Right? Who's looking? What you are looking for is where you are looking from. The looker cannot be seen. Are you not the one looking? That's the self. That's consciousness, isn't it? You are conscious of the inquiry, you're conscious of the hours you spent, conscious of the fact that it's been fruitless. You've not. Is that not appearing to consciousness? That's you. Self inquiry is simply turning away from everything until there's nothing left but you. That's the consummation of self inquiry, right? But the habit of the mind is, yeah, but okay, all right, great. But then, and it's the habit of the mind. It's going to continue to look for something, right? And you might get drawn into it, but wait a minute. No matter what it's looking for, I'm aware of it and the looking. That awareness, is that not you? Is there somebody else that's aware of the mind? So you are the awareness that's aware of the mind looking. You can't see that. You can't. That which is looking cannot be seen. Right? And this is what the mind's frustration is. It just insists there's got to be something I can look at. There isn't. You cannot see yourself. You cannot know yourself. How do you know the infinite? The moment you know something, it's no longer infinite. How do you know the formless? You just do, don't you? You know that you are. Well, that's it. That's how you know the formless. I know that I am. There's no doubt. It's self-evident. Right? That I amness is me. That's what you're looking for. Right? You're the one looking. Jesse, can you speak to that, GP? I appreciate it that through your teachings we can feel like we no longer need to run away from anything anymore. All life has merit, even the messy stuff. Yes, even the messy stuff. Even the messy stuff. Well, who said it was messy, right? If my mind has a preference for it to be this way and it's that way, I go, oh, that's messy. Well, it's not messy. I've made it messy. I've created imaginary messiness, right? Because I have a preference for the way I want things to be, right? And if I'm dogged enough about it, I'll make a religion that things are supposed to be that way, and I'm going to make you conform to it. And if you don't, I'm going to send you to hell forever. But I love you. You can see how it works. The moment you take a position, you create the opposite. Don't take a position, no opposite. Don't have an idea as to what neat and tidy is, and there'll be no messy. It's just life. Right? Notice the messiness is created by the mind. Right? It's not that the mind's creating messiness. The mind is experiencing life as it is, not liking what it sees, and then calling that messy. It's not messy. It's just life. It's just what it is. There is no messiness. There is no suffering. There's no confusion. There's no problems. Those are all manufactured by the mind. That's why you don't need to run away from anything, because the thing isn't a problem. It's our thought about the thing that's a problem. And when you realize that it is just a thought, this whole thing becomes rather comical. It's a mess. It's a mess. I really got to clean up that mess, right? What mess? Who said it was a mess? Right? And then life just becomes really simple. Even the idea of running away from something wouldn't even occur to you, because if there's no mess, what's there to run away from? And now the wonder, the spectacle, the mystery, the celebration of life just becomes Sometimes I'll just sit here in this park, and it's different every day. It's almost as if I can see the trees growing, but you just notice something different all the time. Just the depth perception, and the way the light. I could sit and stare at the tree, and I got to call it a tree to tell you what I'm staring at. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what that thing is. It's just amazing. It's just this amazingness, right? Sue, I'm so glad I found you, GP. Wonderful teacher. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're talking about the stuff that matters. This inquiry is the most important conversation going on in the human kingdom. There's only 47 of us here right now, but for the 47 people that are here, this is the most important thing going on in the human kingdom. It's more important than all the news and all the capitals and all of that kind of stuff, because that's just going to come and go. That's actually just nonsense. What's real? We're sitting here. Talk about privilege. We're sitting here pondering the deepest questions of humanity. What is the nature of reality? Who am I? Wow, what an honor. What an honor. So glad you're here, Sue. Let's see. October, Paul. Hi, October. So, uh, also, oops, I missed one. Come back to this planet. Oh, um, you mentioned two types, one of which being a bodhisattva, but I don't remember the name of the other. My heart wishes to be of service, but as things in this epoch uh, as things are in this epoch, I don't want to come back to this planet. The dream of the earth is becoming a nightmare. Yes, it is. But when you're having a really nice dream at night, you're having a lot of fun and there's no clothing anywhere, uh, and you wake up, don't you? God, I'm going to big sleep. I'm going to get sleep, right? But if it's a nightmare, oh, thank God I'm awake. That's what we're experiencing. Please talk about what the bodhisattva vows really entail: infinite suffering and compassion. Also, do you have any post-awakening practices to help return the body and mind to subtle focus? My mind still needs a lot of discipline. Being awake is beautiful, but there's still work to do. Yeah, certainly not what I expected. Me either. The ego never awakens, and awakening seems much more practical than mystical. Yes, there's nothing special about me in particular. How can I serve now? Beautiful. That's you just asked that question. Um, let's see, a lot there, Paul. Let me October. Let me. Okay, the other word was the arahat, Arahat, and if you the arahat is the hero of Hinayana, or the lesser vehicle Buddhism, and the bodhisattva is the hero of the Mahayana, or the greater vehicle. The arahat is simply one who seeks enlightenment for themselves, and you'll see that all over the place, right? But in fact, except in Buddhism and a few other places, you won't even hear the term bodhisattva. You'll see it in practice, right? A lot. All the non-dual teachers I recommend, it's in practice. They do it. Although I don't think I've heard them talk about it. So the bodhisattva is simply seeks enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. There's a saying in Zen: I go up the mountain for myself, I come down the mountain for others. And you will come down the mountain. You'll either be walking because you want to go, or you'll be rolling because you got kicked, right? But you will come down the mountain. There will be a crash. There will be a fall from that state of I am everything. There's nothing other than me. But the work is first internal. You first have to redeem your own nervous system, your own energy, right? You have to really become so embodied, so ingrained into who you really are, that all of the residual of the ego is either completely dissolved or it's just become so insignificant as to not be a factor any longer, right? There's just enough there to keep you functioning, right? and nothing else, right? So that post sadhana practice is exactly the same as the pre-sadhana practice, right? For me, it's what I called inner reconciliation, and it is simply that which comes to the place of pure allowing, right? You're just letting things be as they are, is what opens the door to seeing yourself as you actually are, because the nature of allowing is pure love. The nature of the self and of pure awareness is pure allowing. Awareness is just aware. Right? It has no preference, it has no issues, it has no favorites, it takes no sides. It is just aware of whatever is. And because it takes no sides, everything is lovable in its sight. That same allowing now, post-awakening, is simply your first simply allowing everything that you experience, your own nervous system, all the different energies, the ego coming up again isn't, damn, there it is again. It's going, oh, there it is. Obviously, I'm aware of it. And this pure awareness, because there's no longer any identification there, the ego is going to come up. All the places it's still hiding in the body, because remember, the ego isn't a thing, it is just a functioning. And that functioning will continue, just like the heart will keep beating, right? You wake up, the heart doesn't stop, you don't disappear, right? Get taken up into heaven or anything. And everything's functioning just as it is. But the center of gravity, the center of being, is moving from the sense of I in that the body was um, orbiting around, right, is now all migrating towards the true self as the false self disappears. And then what happens literally is the ultimate, the absolute, expresses itself through the finite, the timeless, um, manifests in the field of time. And then you, as October Paul, me as GP, and the absolute unknowable infinite being are one. This is the one being known. That's what's called the sage, right? That's the true sage. So the practice is one of simply the deepening of compassion and love. That's really all you can say, and that's the essence of the bodhisattva. So as that's happening in me, what's going on? I'm looking around the whole rest of the world, right? I feel exactly the same way. So it's not I take on the world's suffering. If I do that, I suffer. But because I'm beyond suffering, I take on the suffering of the world, right? As if it was mine, right? If I can save them from that, well, I do it, right? Process it exactly the same way I did myself, the same way you do with your own allowing, right? And so it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're clear that there are no suffering beings. There's only you, right? And that's the culmination of the bodhisattva in the Buddha, right? Buddha himself said, I spent 500 lifetimes as a bodhisattva before becoming, before Gautama Buddha, right? Right. Those are always, they just mean, it, it, it is it's the final step before full Buddhahood and entering into nirvana, which is simply a total dissolution, right? The total emptiness, right? So, but the practice of the bodhisattva is beautiful. There's 4 bodhisattva practices. I'll list them here quickly. I don't have time to go into them, but and this is in the Lankavatara Sutra. I've not seen these practices anywhere else except there, and it's the most unique of all the sutras, but it's not an easy read. I have to, I have to say it's one. Why I don't recommend it just openly like this in a public forum, because it's not an easy read. But the first bodhisattva practice, this is Buddha, he gave to all bodhisattvas, right? Which is anyone who is on that track. He said, becoming adept at perceiving, at discriminating the perceptions of your own mind. So you're refining everything you're looking at, seeing things as they are, right, without any extra interpretation. So you're distinguishing that which is simply a perception of your own mind, like what earlier for Heather, right? I said the messiness is a perception of the mind. It's not really messy. It's a perception of the mind. Discerning those perceptions. The second one is perceiving the non-existence of external existence. That's a mouthful. Nothing exists outside of your perception. So you're distinguishing and discerning that which is a perception in the mind, and then you find there's nothing other than the perception of your mind. There is no external existence. There is no matter. There is no universe. It is all the self. The third then is, how did he put it? Is avoiding views of arising, duration, and cessation. In other words, if everything is a perception and nothing exists separate from my perception, that nothing arises, nothing endures, and nothing dissolves. There's no beginning, there's no end, there's no middle, there's no Brahma, Vishnu, or Krishna, or Shiva. And it was this seeing of the of the illusion of cause and effect that was the moment of Siddhartha's enlightenment. In that moment, he became the Buddha. And the last one is so beautiful. It's so simple, right? These others are, man, there's some work to do there, right? But this, delighting in the realization of Buddha knowledge, just loving your awakening. Love it. My God, what a gift. What a gift. I'm awake. I know who I am. Even when it's muddled, even when my head's filled with doubts, something, I know who I am. I am who I am. So hopefully that covers it for you, right? Robert, hi GP. Is there a way to listen to the talk you did at 11 yesterday? What was the talk I did at 11 yesterday? Oh, the meditation? Yeah, they're on YouTube. The meditations are on YouTube. Yeah. They should be just, YouTube/GP Walsh. Was it at 11 yesterday or was it at 10? Oh, the talk. Oh, the interview. The interview I did after the meditations, right, for the World Parliament of Spirituality. Oh, it was a wonderful talk with these two guys, one in both from India, one still in India, who's the guy who's behind the whole thing, and a guy who works for him in New Jersey. Yes, those will be prior to the actual World Parliament of the speaking, where I'll be speaking again, and when they found out most of the people, the majority of people who listen to me are actually in other places, they're going to put me in multiple continents because they've got like 1,000 speakers. They want this to go on for a very long time. It's really a major event. But at any rate, all of the recorded videos that they're doing now are all going to be up on YouTube, right? As it gets closer to the event. The one in North America is going to be in around before Thanksgiving. In Europe is going to be after that. I know I'm going to be at both of those, but I might be in the one in India as well. So, so that answer your question there, Robert? Or Friday? Did I talk 11? Yesterday it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. That answer it? It'll be available. Let everybody know. Everybody's saying the sound's working great. Okay. I wasn't reading the chat. Okay. Yeah. Everything good now, Mary? Yay. Robert, yes, just fine on YouTube. Where's that link? It's not. If you're referring to the meditations, they're all there, right? This video was pre-recorded, and that'll be being put up later. Tatiana says, "Wow, total non-attachment." Yes, total non-attachment, which doesn't mean the end of desire or the end of experience. It just means the end of attachment. Wonderful time, beautiful experience of satsang. Thank you, David. Oh, Mayur, wow, thank you. Much loving. I have no idea. I have no idea what currency that is, but thank you very much, Mayur, for the donation. I have no idea what currency that is, but whatever it is, thank you so much. Oh, David, thank you, GP. So simple. Nothing to change or add. Just myself. I guess it's the egoic need to overcomplicate that makes it seem ungraspable. Really appreciate it. Yeah, and it is ungraspable for the mind, right? It can't grasp it, right? You can't see something that can't be. You can't see space, can you? Yeah, we're pretty sure it's there, right? But you can't. It's indetectable. That's why they often will use the space-like awareness. Use it as a metaphor because awareness is even beyond. Awareness is even aware of space. Talk about subtle. Penny, thank you, GP. to all the pointers, like the subtleness you're referring, effortless, like breathing. Yes. From Heather, after going back and listening to your satsangs and meditations, I've stopped running to the future. It's letting me enjoy my everyday life more. Thank you much, Chi. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. There is no future. I want to be happy. I hope I'm happy someday. Well, but how about now? Right? Nobody wants to be happy in the future. Right? We want it now. Wilson, hi again. I have many questions for you. You're the only person I can ask. What do you think about Ho'oponopono? Can it be real? Absolutely, it is real. Um, I used to practice a form of metaphysical healing. It was very close to that. I didn't know anything about Ho'oponopono at the time, um, but it has the essence of the bodhisattva in it, and what it's simply doing is recognizing that my experience is all there is to my to not reality, because reality is what it is, but my experience is all in my perception, right? And so if I really do take on the sins of the world, take on the suffering as a bodhisattva with clarity, like the fellow who created it did, yes, you'll heal others. That's how it's done. If somebody comes to me for healing, I don't practice that healing anymore, but I don't see it as someone who I have to fix. I see it as I am being invited to believe in the reality of a sick person, or a sad person, or a horrible person, or a bad person. That's all completely within my consciousness. And what I choose to enter into my consciousness will determine my entire experience. Right? We are all one. And the consciousness that is most rooted in love is the most powerful, of of amongst us all, until the sense of there being one and other disappears completely. It works because there is no really other. David, Elaine, thank you for these beautiful satsangs. Such a gift to be able to share these fundamental questions together with you and everyone. We're so blessed and fortunate to be where we are. Amen. October, wow, GP. I'm so grateful and blessed to find my teacher in this lifetime. Many blessings to you and the whole Sangha. I'm just the face of your teacher. Okay? The actual teacher is you. Okay? Because you don't realize it yet, the teacher has got to use some mouth to tell you. It's got to use some mouth so that you'll hear it and receive it. But isn't it your own recognition that sees the truth in the words that I speak? So then it's the truth in you, the namaste, right? The truth in you that recognizes that truth. That recognition is the real you. Right? Not the darkness that got dispersed by that recognition, but the recognition that was you. Ah, it's rupees from India. Thank you, Red Rose. Great. Mayor, and I want to thank you for reminding us that we can donate if we can support this live gatherings. Well, yes, actually you can. I always keep forgetting to show it. This is a link to donate. I do encourage people to use this rather than the super chat, because I've got several $100 at Google and I can't get it from them. Every time I do something, I say, no, this is wrong. We got to fix this. So I'm inviting people. I have another place where you can donate, either through PayPal or through a credit card. So yeah, it is what keeps me going. The classes that I'm doing, the private sessions that I do, and donations, so that I can continue to do all this for free. I think this is we're in year 3 of these satsangs now. I'm over 60 of the meditations. All of those are free. And I don't ever want anybody to not get their needs met because they don't have money. I know what that was like. There was a time when I could only get the small onion, not the big one, because I was down to the penny. I know what that is like. Yeah. So let me go back to the comments here. Um, so good. We've run out. It's been 2 hours. The clouds are moving again. So I guess it's time for us to say namaste for today. Thank you all. I am just I'm just so touched and grateful to you all for wanting to engage in this level of uh, conversation, at this level of inquiry. As you can see, this is the way out of suffering. This is the answer to the world's problems. Okay? It's not. It's not a system change. It's not. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not institution change. It's not attitude change. It's not political change. It's not economic change. It's this, because all of those grow out of the dominant sense of who am I, right? And until that who am I is clear, the bad roots are going to produce bad fruit. It's inevitable. It's inevitable, right? The nature of our being as love itself, right, is the only thing that is going to bring the world back to sanity. And you guys are doing it. You guys are doing it. Bless your hearts. Thank you all. I love you. Namaste.